consider another perspective, kind of going back to that illustration of holding a ball. All you see is black on this side, but if I turn it around, it's white, right? In our situation, you know, my youngest, they were all grown for the most part, but my youngest was 15 and then 17, almost 18. The rest were grown and out. There was previous good relationship there. And
we're going to start it all over. We're going to start it all over. We just got word from the producer. We don't know why. That's okay. All of it. From the beginning, from the top, Hingle. Okay, we have had some technical difficulties. It's okay.
Am I doing my flute and everything?
No.
Okay.
We are going to watch.
Jeez.
So, nobody's heard anything we've said. Okay, so welcome. That's okay. We're having a little technical difficulties. We're going to figure it out. Put your headphones on, sir.
Man, I am discombobulated.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. Sorry about the few minutes of technical difficulties. It's not a big deal. We are so thankful. This is our 5th live already YouTube channel for 12 days, and the growth that we've had has been wonderful, and we're so thankful for it. So it's okay. I'm going to get to you, but I just have to say really quick that we will be dropping our links and any references at the beginning of our description under this video once it drops on YouTube, which will be about an hour after we stop filming, so that you can get links to those. And some of those links are affiliate links that help support our podcast. We're so grateful for that. It's no extra cost to you. I have to say it. It's required. So there you have it. Baby, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, we had so many people come back to us in the comments giving us their stories. Some incredibly sad, some on the other side of it, some just starting it. And for us, I know for them as well, it's incredibly important to acquire some knowledge on what to do in these situations that are so painful. And so we decided that it's probably going to be maybe the next 3 episodes, including this one. So this one and another 2, where this one is going to be a comparison between parental alienation and no contact or estrangement, and what the differences are between those 2 things. The next one would be narcissistic personality disorder or narcissism, because you listen to the professionals and that seems to be the common denominator or catalyst in the first. Tonight's podcast, parental alienation or no contact. And so understanding those things, what they are, the spectrum of narcissism or narcissistic traits, and what to do with them is incredibly important to know how to navigate these painful situations. And then finally, once you acquire that, how do you heal? How do you move on? How do you maintain a relationship? How do you cut off a relationship if necessary? When do you make that decision? You don't want to just say I'm out without any kind of effort and things like that, but
not all kids.
You don't know when to make those kind of efforts without the knowledge that then becomes understanding that you can then apply wisely to a situation, right?
Yeah.
So that's the objective. Tonight is the difference between parental alienation and no contact.
And so we pulled this video. She explains it. Dr. Amy J.L. Baker, she explains it very simply, the difference between estrangement or no contact and parental alienation. So let's listen to that really quick and then we'll move on.
Abused actually reject the abusive parent, but if they did, we would refer to that child as estranged. We wouldn't say that that child's alienated. So embedded in the definition of alienation is unjustified rejection of the parent because of the efforts, conscious or otherwise, of the favored parent. The favored parent has to be doing something that causes the child to unjustifiably reject the other parent. Not all kids who have been abused actually reject.
We're good.
So For example, in our situation, right, our adult kids, perhaps, and again, we don't know, we haven't talked to them, perhaps they'd say, well, for me, they'd say, you left my mom, or you left my dad. I think most people would say that is something you could talk through.
Right.
So it seems logical that that's not the only reason that full contact is gone. Are you with me?
I'm with you. Sorry.
You followed around.
I'm sorry, I'm being distracted.
I'm watching your
Squirrel.
eyes. I'm like, I'm out here.
I'm sorry. Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, in our situation, there was a much greater amount of, on social media nonstop,
Right.
alienating lies and vitriol of the worst kind you can imagine spewed at our adult kids.
Can I say something about that? Because I think that the day and age we live in with TikTok and social media in general, I think we're not alone in that either. Like, that happens a lot where people think that in their, most vulnerable time of pain, of sorrow, of anger, they should film themselves. Did I say
No.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to say
in my mind, I'm trying to get rid of this image I have of your eyes just darting everywhere. Okay.
But
serious topic.
It's serious.
Okay.
Gather ourselves. But it's so prevalent in today's, and it was so strange to go through. You're thinking, holy shit, this person is just telling the world about, their personal stuff and lying to the world, and that's how you feel in the moment. And it's literally surreal. You're like, this is crazy. Like, you look crazy. What are you doing?
In our case, it was declared. I've literally declared I've sold my soul to the devil for your destruction, kind of a thing. And so that's pretty obvious. And then what came after was pretty obvious now, but at the time, we didn't know what the hell any of it was.
And so keep in mind, our children were in that tornado of chaos and of lies and of just
utterly
vitriol.
Completely unregulated emotion.
And all of our children, because we are, our children are cousins. And so all but one was present for all of that at some point. And what that must have done to them, what it did do to them. And it's just crazy.
So that's what's uniquely different, right? Our kids weren't young. There's an intense amount of alienation, unbridled alienation, but they weren't young. I still had a younger son at home.
Yep, he was the youngest.
I would have loved for us to taken in. My daughter that was just next older than him, we would have loved to taken in. But the situation, it was created, the emotional turmoil and chaos was created to prevent any of that for our destruction. And that was clear. It was clear in letters that we've seen, still have, that were written. And what are the differences? What are the details?
Yeah,
How do you decipher? How do you navigate?
Can we pull that up, Hinkle?
Yeah.
Hinkle? I get it wrong.
Is it Hingle or Hinkle?
I like to call them both. Okay, you're going to have to read the first one if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So, parental alienation and no contact comparison, right? So parental alienation would be occurs when influence or control shapes a child's rejection. What we just heard her say.
Yep.
Whereas no contact, chosen freely by an adult. And I could just, if I had to make a wager, I would say that our adult kids would, to the last one of them, say they've chosen freely.
Yeah. My girls have even told me that point blank, like, quit saying that I was manipulated or alienated, being manipulated through parental alienation. This is my choice. I'm the one making this choice. And I fully respect that they believe that. And I know it probably upsets them, but it's not true to begin with.
Imagine a scenario with us for a moment where two people in that situation have a conversation. The hard, difficult conversation of, hey, this is the end of the 25 or 26-year marriage. And have the conversation. We can talk about it, go through all the details, but in the end, let's do what it takes to make sure that the best outcome can
For the
transpire
kids.
for our children.
Right. So they understand.
And then have a conversation with those kids. That's the difference. If that were to take place and you've got both of those emotionally mature adults,
right,
having already had that conversation between one another, agreeing how it needed to be communicated to the kids for their well-being, both committed to the kids feeling open and free to have a relationship with both parents, then you've got a whole different kind of scenario, as opposed to an immediate onslaught of painting the other parent as dangerous. My youngest son was taken out of the state without me knowing.
Multiple times, different states.
And that's a whole different scenario. And that can't happen. That doesn't exist. But it does. When it doesn't, it's excruciating and painful, not just for the kids.
Right.
Long-term, lifelong-term, but also for the parents that have to work through that.
Yeah.
Which is what we're getting. The parental side of it, even some of the kids' side of it. I'm now starting to see videos where one I watched today was of a young lady who had been alienated from her father for 20 years and now has come back around and now discovered it. And so a lot of our children haven't had the chance for life to kick them in the teeth yet enough times to have experiential knowledge to be able to say, who wants to admit that they've been manipulated and that their choice to utterly and completely reject a loving mother is normal?
Well, we were even told at one point, we can't have you around the littles.
Yeah.
Because of the way you believe now.
Yeah.
And you've never even had a conversation of what you believe now. That's the point. Like, there hasn't been an opportunity to even have a conversation. And in order to go no contact under this definition, there needs to be a conversation. There needs to be room for reconciliation or not. Or after that conversation, you may choose to still not. And sometimes that is perfectly right and good and okay and necessary. Sometimes it's not, but if you're not even willing, as the child, as the parent, as the sister, as the brother, as whoever, whatever relationship it may be, if you're not putting forth the effort to have that conversation, you're not in the right. That's my opinion. I don't know. That's not an expert opinion, but you're not in the right because you have not given that other person even an opportunity to have a conversation. Parental alienation involves loyalty, pressure, or fear. No contact involves personal boundaries. Let's talk about the difference there. Loyalty, pressure, or fear. I think that loyalty was a huge one in our situation. I think they were made to feel that they had to be loyal or that parent was going to completely, literally fall apart. Emotionally, physically, all of it. I think they felt so terrified to see that parent in that state. They'd never seen that before.
Well, and what was said about us was so horrific.
Right.
The lies and things were so horrific. Not only would they emotionally fall apart or do something dangerous to themselves, but we were painted to be so horrific.
Right.
That how could you have a relationship with that person?
When literally the day before this all went down, we had a relationship with our children. A loving, not perfect, but loving, good relationship with our children the day before. That's when that's a red flag for a parent when your children just all of a sudden are not are not talking to you and painting you as this horrible person. Versus no contact when it involves personal boundaries. So I have experienced that, having to set very personal boundaries for myself with my parents, really both of them, for different reasons in different ways. They didn't, I wanted to read this. This is something I wrote as I'm thinking about this, because there's a lot to go over. It was not an easy thing. I think for any child or any parent, I mean, again, I think it can be any relationship in your life that you have to really at some point come to a decision of whether or not, is this good for me? Is this good for my soul? Is this good for my heart? Is this good for my mind? And sometimes the answer is no. But again, there needs to be a conversation. That decision and the emotional, heartbreaking magnitude, I know very, very well. Some relationships don't end because of a single event or from requiring perfection. They end because accountability never comes. In my situation, to this day, accountability has never came. I fully understand the reasons that real legitimate reasons that some children have to go no contact. We've received some, very few, but a few comments like, there's a reason. And my answer to them is, you're absolutely right. Sometimes there is a reason. There is a very good, legitimate reason. Distance is sometimes the only place truth can breathe. I thought that was so beautiful, because if that person, that parent, or that sibling, or that father, whoever it is not willing to take accountability or listen or have that hard conversation without defensiveness or without making excuses or gaslighting you, there's no room for your not acknowledging. There's no room for your truth. So I loved that. Distance is sometimes the only place truth can breathe. It is the natural consequence of repeated denial or harm, trauma, things that hurt you. In my situation, I was able to clearly name the things that hurt me. I was able to set boundaries without any ultimatums. And this parent's response to those things was simply, I disagree. And 2.5 years later, nothing. No conversations to understand, to try whatsoever. Personally. And I'm not talking about trying through other people, having them tell me things, having them, write things to me on social media. Your mom loves you, that kind of bullshit. And I said mom. So clearly I'm talking about my mom in this one, my relationship with her. I'm not talking about those things or making comments on social media or my YouTube page. That is not how you repair with someone that you say you love. When your pain is denied, repair is impossible. If a child comes to you and has hurt and has pain and it's real to them and they need to talk about it and share it with you and you deny it, repair is impossible at that point. Over time, the patterns that my mom exhibited became louder than the silence. She was purposely aligning with people who wished me and my family harm, real legitimate harm, physically, emotionally, legally. She was rewriting narratives about me and my family, using connection as a weapon, and making public displays on social media meant to provoke and hurt me deeply, rather than heal with me. That's what she chose. It was never about repair for her. It was about control, ego, and preserving her image. I didn't suddenly choose no contact. I was 45 years old. It wasn't out of anger. It was chosen out of self-preservation. And that's my story of going no contact with my mom in particular. It was very difficult. I do not wish that upon any child ever. It is sad. It is never what you expect to happen in life. You want to be their best friend. You want to go on trips. You want to be loved and love. And when that just comes to a point of impossibility, you have to, for you, for your growth, for your awakening, for your story, your journey, you have to make that choice. And it's difficult, and you mourn that relationship deeply. I mean, I mourned it and questioned it for probably 2 years. Probably just the last 6 months is when I've been the most finally at peace with it, because I wanted to make sure that I did everything I could, that I said everything I needed to say, that I apologized for everything I needed to apologize for. It's no different than what I want to do and have been able to do a little bit with my girls. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to have repair and to not have to go no contact, is acknowledging and being willing to have that conversation. So I didn't know for sure if I was going to tell that tonight, to be honest. I'm very much a believer in flow and feeling it and if it's right. And so there you go. There's my story. But let's move on to, unless you have any questions or want to say anything.
No, it's hard. It's
very hard.
It's emotional and it takes time. But again, what do? You don't curl up in the fetal as a victim. You learn, you apply, you grow, and you live your life.
And I'm really excited to talk about, I think it'll probably be on Thursday, our healing journey with our children, with those we've had to go no contact with, because that is what we need to do. We are coming out of the year of the snake, of shedding old relationships, old patterns, our shadows that need to heal. We're shedding those things and coming into the year of the horse, which is momentum and manifestation and abundance and living free. And I am so excited. I just feel like it's perfect timing talking about our healing journeys through this and how so many parents are still hurting. We've seen messages. I had one message from a gal. She said she's been dealing with this, a mother, for 40 years. And I don't know her story. I don't know her children's story, so I'm not taking sides. But to be still in a state of sadness and just not knowing what to do with yourself after 40 years, there's no way. You have to heal with or without them. Always with the door open to have that conversation with your children. Always our door is open. But we had to move on and grow.
You're getting into episode 3.
I know. So stay tuned for Thursday. That'll be a good one. But anyway, so we can go to the next one.
Well, and it involves loyalty and pressure or fear. Involves personal boundaries, like, how you just, described your own story. I mean, your heart breaks for these little kids, right? In
Yes.
these situations, because are they with the alienated narcissistic personality disorder spectrum parent, or are they not? Is the one they're with that personality disorder, or is it the one that's being accused of being a narcissist by the one who actually? It's so convoluted, and it's an individual situation.
Yeah,
they are so different from one case to the next. But what's foundational, or can be foundational, is the knowledge and information needed by which to navigate your own life, heal your own heart, and inform your journey out of this pain, right? There are so many different things of our life experience here that's required. And it's required here.
When we first were going through this, we again, I mentioned this in, I think, our last live, but we didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, what is this? Is this normal? So we sought out people that could help explain it, professionals. And there is a gentleman, and I feel like I read that there's some controversy, like he throws tantrums or something online. I don't know. But his book is amazing, Dr. Childress.
For those throws tantrums.
Yeah, I just read that. But his book, I'll link it, is actually, we ordered it because it was helpful to us, but would be especially helpful to those with young children who are fighting the court system and just having to fight to see their children in general.
I'll be honest, I don't care if he ever threw a tantrum.
No, he has.
I have a hard time believing it, first of all. Could be, but the bottom line is, his insight, his information
is amazing.
Is tremendous.
Yeah, so I'll link his book. We have it. I didn't bring it in here, but it's really good. And I found another book that I'll also link that is another one that gets you through. There was not a lot available to us 4 years ago. Literally from then until now, so much more.
There's a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more education has happened. So we're excited about that. So let's go to the next one.
Parental alienation happens during dependency. So obviously young children, so forth and so on. No contact happens after independence. Now, here's where
Wrong.
it begins to blend a little, right? So, parental alienation happens during dependency. What happens if you have an older child that is in some way monetarily dependent on someone with narcissistic personality disorder that has all these patterns?
Mm-hmm.
It's a parent, right? But their life, their lifestyle is still very much funded by a parent. They may be an adult by age and not a young child, but they may be an adult out of the house who's still dependent. So that's different.
It makes it easy to manipulate, because it'd be scary to be that child, that young adult child, and put that on the line, because then who's going to help?
Yeah, and
is what you would think.
You're going to do whatever it takes to shuck and jive to make sure you maintain this lifestyle that you want.
Yep.
Right. And in other words, it's harder to be genuine. It's harder to be true in that situation. Another scenario may be through a work-related situation or things like that, where the dependency on your well-being as an adult child hinges on this person that seems to wind up being the common denominator in these situations. So, and then after independence, my oldest 3 at the time had independence and carried on with the choice of no contact, while at the same time receiving an onslaught of bullshit.
Yeah. And no room for a conversation.
No conversation
except
at
for a short one with your oldest son.
A little bit.
It was wonderful when it happened. One parent is idealized, the other vilified, versus mixed emotions can coexist. So in parental alienation, one parent is idealized, the alienating parent, and the victim, the parent who is being victimized by this, we're not victims here, but the alienated parent is being vilified. That is so true for us. And then versus mixed emotions can coexist. When you go no contact, you have mixed emotions if you've legitimately done everything to try to fix it and it still isn't fixed, and you have to make that decision to go no contact. There's a lot of mixed emotions.
You certainly had them. Yeah.
I had them. Like, God, I don't know what is right. Am I right? Am I wrong? And also, when you're in that for so long, that type of relationship for so long, you question yourself constantly. You question those decisions and, like, was it right? Was it wrong? Is blood thicker than water? Am I, doing the right thing or the wrong thing? And then once you can just be at peace and breathe and realize I'm fine. I'm actually better than fine. I am so at peace, but it takes time. So
yeah, I would say my kids certainly had. It's not that my kids were young to where they didn't understand to some degree or another that the parent that was alienating didn't have some issues. Probably just felt or didn't know enough to grant me permission to leave their mother. Really,
Do you think it was in your situations in particular? Your kids are very religious. Do you think it's their worldview that keeps them?
Well, there's a huge part of anybody's worldview that affects all decision making, all life choices, and there's a big part of that, and that's going back to the awakening from 2019 and on. You begin to see these threads of connection and of truth that run through everything, and your worldview is absolutely going to affect all of it.
Yes.
So.
Odin Slane says money, going back to, the dependency,
sure.
He says money is the root of all evil. And that is a great example of what that means. That's a great, one of the many examples that you can give of what that actually means.
When you're not sovereign, when you're not free, when you're not self-sustaining, you potentially are prone to cater to not being genuinely who you are, because there is dependency there.
Right.
Maybe it's emotional dependency,
I was just gonna say,
but money.
Relational dependency, not just financial, but
I
definitely.
mean, that just adds a real significant layer when your well-being, the money is involved.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, child repeats another's narrative, decisions coming from lived experience. 100%, like I said, our children were loving us the day before all of the shit hit the fan. And then the next day, we were the villains. They were speaking like those that were the adults in the room. They were saying virtually the exact same things at those times, just horrible, disgusting things. Out of their own pain, I realized that it was out of pain, the children, out of the pain that they were feeling and the confusion and just, I'm sure, just the chaos of it all. But the decisions when you're going no contact come from lived experience. At that point, your independence and your lived experience come into play, and you finally realize, you know what? I need to make this decision for my well-being.
And you had a lot of lived experience up to that point, that when you acquired the knowledge of what we're talking about, it began to enable you to have a more informed decision about yourself,
yes,
about that relationship and situation, as opposed to being so torn apart emotionally, not knowing what is or isn't right. The knowledge is what helps in that situation.
Yeah, it took some time for me to...
Even with the knowledge, it took
even
some
with
time.
The knowledge, yeah, exactly.
Because your heart was...
Yeah, my heart was soft.
You know, the decision come from lived experience, like we were just talking about with you. Certainly a long lived experience. With mine, I would say I'm here for that conversation. Whatever your lived experience is, besides the bullshit lies and things that we're told that are just blatantly not true, what is the lived experiences you had with me as your father that hurt you to the point to where you've chosen this route? What have I done so badly, other than leaving your mother and other than all the lies that took place? I'm here for that conversation.
Yes.
What is it? Because I want to hear it.
Yes.
Maybe because I didn't think about it. I haven't thought about it. I feel like I've thought about every possible thing you can possibly think about in the last 4 years, but it's a different perspective, and I'm open to hearing it. That's what a parent needs to be able to do. And if a parent can't do that for their child, their oldest children's, whether they agree or not, if they can't listen to that child, that adult child or otherwise, with empathy, with sincerity, with genuineness, with acknowledgement and a desire for that relationship to stay intact as opposed to protecting their own ego, then that's a problem. And if that happens over and over and over again, as a child is opening their heart up or their hurts or their pains up to try to create this reconciliatory situation between someone that's hurting them, and it gets shut down or gaslit or denied or unacknowledged over and over and over again, that's lived experience. That's understandable.
Absolutely. There's always to make that decision. Hingle is trying to tell us something. Discouraging and or blocking, especially when the kids are small, I can imagine. But even we can attest to the fact of when they're older or young adults. Versus repair may have been attempted. Okay. Is that better? Okay. I must have hit my mic. So what do you think about that? Repair is discouraged or blocked on the parental alienation side. On the no contact side, repair may have been attempted.
Well, what's interesting, you would think that repair is discouraged or blocked only in young children.
Not true.
But you witnessed it in an adult child of yours, where they were discouraged or blocked from access to you through essentially threatening to not come around, not be around at all.
Keep going.
I see
We're
audio.
good now?
Yep.
Our audio, we had a little, swear. So, yeah, so I had my oldest daughter came around and we were repairing, and it was beautiful. And at the time, her other parents refused to come around if she was doing that, if she was having that relationship with you or I or her grandparents at the time. And it was very sad to hear. It was very sad to hear, just the discouragement of both can be true. We can both have a relationship with her.
Well, and like with mine, my oldest son came around. It seemed like there was this starting process of repair attempted, and then it vanished. And from my perspective, obviously that feels very manipulative, right? As opposed to with my mother, who we are now having conversations, hard conversations, may not agree on absolutely everything.
But that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's
and
the beautiful thing.
I was able to apologize for some things that I had done or said that hurt her.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And we're in the process of that restoration. So it can happen. I don't know, my oldest son being the only one that tried, I don't know the answers to all these things. All I can go off of is what I need to try to carry on, basically.
Yeah, right. Okay, last couple ones. Serves control or narrative dominance. Serves safety and healing versus serving safety and healing. So they're no contact, basically. So in parental alienation, it serves as control or narrative dominance. In no contact, it serves as safety and healing. So true. I think one thing that is, like we talked about in the beginning, our situation, our children went from parental alienation to no contact, and it bled together. So it's, and so they believe, and at this point, they're choosing to say and proclaim that it serves as safety and healing for them to have no contact with us. My girls have said that, basically. So they've taken on the whole narrative, like forget the parental alienation. They don't claim any of that, but they are saying, no, this is my decision and I'm just safe from you. And then there's a whole narrative that has gone along with that, which goes back to the parental alienation. So it's like, it's been confusing and hard, and just mostly hard because I'm here for that conversation as well. I want to have it. I want the healing. I want the love that we shared and to create a new relationship. And when we had that opportunity with my daughter, my oldest daughter, I was elated, like so excited to just begin anew and heal and hear her, genuinely hear her, and apologize where I needed to apologize and just love her. And then that was taken again.
Oh, taken again. That's loaded, because essentially what happens in those situations, if you have a common denominator that comes in and manipulates and twists and doesn't completely and genuinely tell all truth and can't hold accountability for anything, then it re-blows up the situation, or can.
Yeah. And
whereas
it definitely
for
did.
you, no contact is serving safety and healing after a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah,
the difference is being able to have that conversation. I think I wrote it down here, is I loved what it said, which is when your pain is denied, repair is impossible. It goes back to that. I'm not denying the pain my girls feel. I want to hear it. I realize
you did.
Yeah, and I have. But their perspective as the child is different than my perspective as the mother. They saw things differently. They felt things differently. I realize that. I want to hear it. I want to take it in and apologize where I need to apologize, and comfort and, heal.
Unfortunately, just some don't seem to be in an independent place,
right,
by which to be able to hear and make their own choice,
yes,
without outside manipulative influence.
Right.
So last one, lacks nuance or curiosity. So parental alienation lacks nuance or curiosity. Nuance or curiosity says, in our situation where my kids maybe are like, what the hell is dad doing? you're calling up and said, Dad, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
I'm pissed. I'm confused. I'm frustrated. I don't understand what's going on. No curiosity, no nuance. All I'm left to believe is that all of the horrific lies are
Being believed.
being swallowed whole,
Mhm.
right? No discussion, no nuance, no curiosity. Whereas somebody like in your situation
Mhm.
at 45 years old who has been through some life shit
I
has
mean 29.
as
Just
the
kidding.
as the allows for reflection and clarity now
Right.
that was so confusing before and painful to deal with.
Well, and I think allowing for reflection and clarity is also, and maybe this is what you mean, but having that conversation is
Right.
allowing to hear your parents' perspective or your brother's perspective or whoever it might be that you've had relationship that needs, you have a relationship that needs healed. It's allowing for that conversation and the healing to begin, or deciding in that moment, this is going nowhere and it's the same as it always is and I'm done. You know, there just does, there is a finish line at some point in relationships.
For your own well-being.
For your own well-being and your survival, your very survival as a human.
And on the other side of that coin is perhaps you are making a decision now about a parent that you've gone no contact with, and none of those steps have taken place. None of the depth of, exploration, curiosity, research has been done to understand exactly what are you dealing with. Is it true what they're saying about this person I'm now no contact with? That spectrum, Dr. Childress, Dr. Amy Baker, many of the others that can give you psychological, concrete information that you can acquire as knowledge to then reflect on for clarity, that then allows you to make a decision about this individual and your lived experiences with them, always keeping in mind that your lived experience perspective is obviously going to be different than that other person's perspective. For instance, I have 5 kids.
Right.
That grew up in the same home with the
Yes.
same father. That means each one of them had a different perspective of me.
And they got a different you, because every child does get a different version of us.
Sure. Well, and so each one of them had a perspective of me.
Yeah.
And I've got a perspective of each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so each one of them has a perspective of themselves, just like I have a perspective of me. If you can't sit down and have an emotionally mature, somewhat informed decision about what that looks like and how that causes people to look at things differently. One example, taking a concealed carry class in Texas.
Oh, I like this story.
The law enforcement officer there, as we were going through that course, showed us criminal video footage. And he showed it to the whole class, multiple different scenarios. And you watch through that video the first time, and he would then ask the whole class, what do you think took place here? What do you think is the actual crime? And so we'd give it. Most of it was unanimous because it looked obvious. He said, what if I told you? And then he gave us more information on that scene of what took place, and then showed us a little more footage and told us about another scenario in that same setting that you couldn't see. And then we're like, oh, he said, so now what is your verdict of that? And we all gave it to him. And then a third round, by the time it was all said and done, it was obvious that without that discussion, without the evidence, without the different perspectives, without the angles, you could be making a rash decision that not only hurts you long-term in your life, but hurts those you love, right? The other side of that coin is a non-rash decision, collecting that information, trying to look at it from all different angles, questioning yourself ad nauseum about whether this was the right choice and how to protect and yourself in that scenario, and then it still being a difficult decision. You have to know. How are you going to get to that point when it's just a cutoff and there's no conversation?
Right. And that's why children don't go no contact. They are alienated. Sometimes, perhaps, I realize there are situations where there's good reason. Maybe there's abuse, like actual abuse. We are not here to judge that or to diagnose whether or not, anything like that. But in a two-parent situation where both parents love those children and want to be in those children's life, and when one parent decides, no, you hurt me, so F you, I'm going to keep the kids. That is alienation. You are psychologically damaging those children. And that is abuse, 1000%. Versus when they become adults and then make that decision. We're not here. I don't think we can judge, even with my girls. I know my opinion of them going no contact, because I know that I was able to begin with my youngest the conversation of healing and hearing her and apologizing. And with my oldest, my oldest daughter, I was able to have that conversation and begin that process as well. I wanted to continue that, and they don't want it. And so I respect that. Not because I respect it, because I don't. I want them to have a conversation. I love them. I miss them. But what I mean is I respect them if that's their journey. I respect them enough to say, okay, well, I respect your decision to not have a conversation and continue that conversation and opportunity to heal. I have to. I have no choice. And that's part of the healing process we'll talk about.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
So, coming to a conclusion here on this hour, what are the main points, right? What does it take to navigate this situation? If you care about these relationships, because don't think for 1 second that if that's something you're implementing in a rash, unthought out way, that kind of stuff doesn't come back around. Matter of fact, I read the statistic where many parents who went no contact or were estranged from their parents, it also, I think it was close to 50%.
Oh my God.
Their children, or one or more of them, wound up doing the same.
Yeah.
It is a generational cycle that need not be.
Right.
And it can be broken. And you simply have to make that choice to do it. You have to make the choice as to whether or not you want that in your journey or not. And it takes information, takes professional information, takes experiential information, and it takes perspective exploration between the party that you say you need to not have contact with.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. It takes that in parental alienation, and it takes that in estrangement and no contact. Once that takes place, you will be more informed about who you're or what you're dealing with. Are you dealing with somebody that's going to gaslight you, or is going to flip the script on you, or not acknowledge what you're saying or the pain? You are making that effort. And just like there is a spectrum on narcissistic personality disorder traits over here and the actual disorder over here, there's also a spectrum on how to handle, right? So if you're dealing with a narcissistic personality disorder over here in the various categories, oftentimes it seems pretty obvious that relationship has to go no contact or fully estranged for your own well-being and your own safety, for your own healing and your own life. If you're somewhere else on that spectrum, or think you are with this person, or maybe that's your perspective at the time before a conversation, then there is, hey, I need to communicate to you what's hurting me. Are they hearing you? Are they listening? Even if they don't agree, are they acknowledging? Are they saying, I don't want you to feel that pain. Can we at least talk about my perspective of it?
Or are they saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. Nobody else feels this way about me.
Yeah. Are they making you out to be the only one that feels this way about you?
That's a common thing we saw. That's a common thing said.
Yeah. So it becomes glaringly obvious the more informed you become on those topics.
I love what Odin Slane said. It will be broken.
100%.
The pattern, the spiral of there are people like us waking up, veils being lifted, and generational, you can call them curses or just damage, is being repaired and made new. And I don't mean those relationships necessarily, because sometimes not, a lot of times not. But a new line of DNA is being created and healed. You know, the awakening that we talk about. People are waking up and healing, finally healing their DNA. And I really am a big believer that when we heal ourselves, we heal our children, with or without them in our lives, that it is very much a beautiful, real, scientifically proven thing that when we heal, our DNA heals throughout time and space.
It boils down to you making the choice. Are you going to be a sovereign, free, informed being that is capable of making your own choices? Or are you going to choose to live a victim life without conversation, without discussion, without any of it?
Yeah.
For us in our house, we choose sovereign freedom in whatever it takes.
Yep. That's right. I think my mic's off again. No, we're good.
We good?
This was good. It's
I don't
such
see
a
your mic.
broad subject. I'm up
Ah.
there. Such a broad subject to cover in one. That's why we decided it's going to take some time to get through all of this. Again, we decided to do it because we see the need. Again, we've had thousands on TikTok where we just post our shorts of these YouTube videos of people interacting and saying, I'm going through this too. How do I heal? And, we're not pretending to be experts. We're only experts in our own story. So we can only give what we've learned, what we've gathered and applied to our own lives. And knowledge is a big one. You have to be knowledgeable about what you're dealing with.
This is not investment advice. This
No.
is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, exactly. We're not experts in the field. We're not coaches or, psychologists or anything like that, but we've read a shit ton of them and we found what works for us. And so that's what we're trying to do, and just let people know you're not alone. I mean, we've had some amazing conversations with family this week that have brought so much healing and realization that, we're all going through some very similar shit and have gone through some very similar stuff. And
Well, this is family that chooses not to be a victim, to be sovereign, to be free,
yes.
intelligently pursuing information.
Yep.
And was open to a conversation. And it is a miraculously beautiful thing.
Yep. So that's what we're doing this for. We, for all that are watching, like and subscribe as always. We always have to say that because I never want to. And it's always kind of like, don't forget to like and subscribe. But it does help us grow. It does help us reach the collective. I believe there's a collective of us, of us with the veil gone, lifted, and awakening. And that's who we want to talk to. And a lot of you are going through some of the same stuff. So that's our purpose and our point. And we're excited for Tuesday. Tuesday will be good. It's a really bad subject actually, but it's part of it.
After a while, you get tired of that
I get
term
so
being
tired
thrown around
of
nonstop.
hearing that word. Oh my God.
But you need to know. It's
Right.
critical for you to have a fundamental understanding of that personality disorder so that you can make a decision, an informed decision.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the next one. Then the next one is healing,
Yep.
rising.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you Odin Slane and family for joining. We always love to see you on there, of course. And yes.
This one.
What?
Live strong and prosper.
We love everyone. Thank you.
They can still hear us. We out here.
We out here.